Hey, welcome back to the Build Up series. I am Andrew Kaplan, and in this series, I get to investigate SaaS products that I look up to and companies that I admire to help them win, to help them break through their current onboarding and activation plateaus and fix their new user experience so that they can engage a much larger percentage of their new users. I'm going to do that by sharing my advice, offering up feedback, highlighting suggestions, and maybe even outlining a few tests that I might run if I worked there. Now, this is called the Build Up series. In the teardown series, I'm not here to punch down on anyone or shame them or make them feel bad or look bad to their boss or their peers. Instead, I want to help them win. I want to help them break through their plateaus and ideally do it in a way that's interesting and educational and hopefully a little bit of fun along the way for folks who are listening to the series and going on a similar journey. So today I am very excited to be building up Navattic. Navattic makes interactive demo tools for SaaS companies, and they're really interesting to build up, specifically because they just launched their free plan. As of September of 2024, Navattic just went 0 to 1 and launched their free plan for all people who are now on their websites, now available as a new offer. So they just designed the first version of their entire freemium plan, but also the new user experience. So I'm going to go through the experience slide by slide in a second, and I'm going to share exactly where I might focus to help them get the most leverage as they start to iterate on the current flow. Now, as we go through this, we're going to focus on 4 high impact opportunities that I see for the Navattic team. The first are I'm going to highlight a few ways that I think they can shorten their time to value. Basically, keep the motivation that users have when they sign in for the first time, get them to value quicker. So ideally, they can get past that and hopefully start to build some habit loops. The second is I'm going to give a little bit of guidance on some in-app communication and education. We can talk about the different delivery mechanisms, but things that can help their new users be more successful as they get going inside of the tool. And I'll talk about some nuances and the different types of users and the different ways that you might want to communicate with them. The third opportunity, I see a huge opportunity for them to leverage segmentation, to treat new users a little bit differently based on stuff we know about them. I call that onboarding recipes. I'm going to share some starting points for them to think about recipes. And the fourth is I'm going to give very specific feedback on one milestone in the new user journey that I think they'll get a lot of leverage out of. So let's go ahead and hop right in. I'm going to go slide by slide and take you through the Navattic experience with my thoughts on ways that they can improve. I always like to think about onboarding as starting on the website just because there are so many things that you can do on the website before anybody even sees your product that impacts your product behavior. So the vast majority of the people that sign up for Navattic's free plan are going to come from 1 or 2 entry points. The most obvious one is the CTA up on the top right to sign up for free. If and when I click that, it takes me to the sign up page and it puts me through a very common and expected sign up experience. Now, the cool thing is that because Navattic is an interactive demo software, they have interactive demos on their sites. So if I were them, I would be interested in is the difference in data of those who sign up generically through the CTA here versus those who on their homepage go through their demo experience, which is using their product to show you what their product does. I won't take you through all the steps, but this is on their homepage right below the hero section. There's a 12-step Navattic walkthrough, an interactive demo of their software. And at the end, it says, hey, thanks so much for checking out the product. If you're interested in taking the next step with us, there's 2 options for you. 1, get in touch with our team for a one-to-one assisted experience, or 2, you can sign up for free and continue to use the product and continue the momentum and the education that you got here. Now, I would bet my salary that 10 times out of 10, you're going to get much higher quality users that made it through this demo and are now signing up because you filtered out all the clunkers. So basically, all the people that just wanted to see what Navattic did are going to go through this experience and not sign up if they're not ready to. Those that do go through this experience are going to be highly qualified, highly motivated. They already know exactly what to expect when they see the tool, and they're much more likely to make it further into the experience. So I would optimize for this. And if I were them, again, I would confirm this with the data, but I would potentially retarget folks who went through this experience and didn't sign up, if via email, if you can, potentially via some paid campaigns. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. So regardless of your entry point, you get inside of the Navattic tool, and the sign-up experience looks pretty familiar. Create your Navattic account. I did via email. You can via Google. And if you've watched the other episodes in this series, you know I typically look for around a 40% conversion rate on these types of pages. If Navattic has a 40% conversion rate, or if you're listening to this and you have a 40% conversion rate, keep it moving. If you're below 40%, and it's not like 38%, but it's like 30% or 28%, a couple of things you could experiment with. One would be adding a little bit more specificity. This says create your Navattic account. What type of account? It's a free plan in this case. You also could potentially experiment with adding some FAQs here. What's included on the free plan? Are there any limits? Where do I go if I have questions? Can I still embed the product on my website? Is there any Navattic branding in the free player? The free version? Those are all the types of things that might add specificity to increase conversion. The other thing that you could do is potentially remove this stuff on the right-hand side. Again, we're kind of reselling our visitors with this language here. And what I have typically seen, especially for folks who've already been through your demo experience, usually less is more. So a couple of things to keep in mind as they think about, or you think about, increasing conversion. And then we really get into the tool. And the very first thing that we see is this 3-step, close like an interstitial experience. It's not the sign-up form, but we're not inside of the tool just yet. This is what it looks like. The first step of the 3 is they ask me for a little bit of basic intel, my name, how I heard about them, probably for marketing attribution. The second one is much more interesting to me. How do you plan on using Navattic? And they've got 4 common use cases and an other here. I actually think this is the most valuable intel that Navattic could possibly get about me, because if I was them, what I would do is over time, as their free plan exists for longer, what I would be very curious to see is which one of these use cases buys more, which has a higher conversion rate. Of those that do buy, which buys a plan that's worth more lifetime value? Which people end up using the free plan, which has better retention over time? As you start to get, you can use your product data to basically figure out who your best potential customers are. You can deploy that information in a ton of different ways. On the marketing side, we could push harder and run campaigns to attract one of these versus the other. We could eventually create email lists for lookalike targeting and cookie pooling and things based on which one of these use cases people self-identify with. And the third, probably the most valuable thing they could do, is they could customize the product journey. I call this onboarding recipes. Basically show you different things in the app and via email and your other communication channels to help you do the thing that you just told us you want to do. So I love this. Again, Navattic is going 0 to 1 here, so there's no judgment that they're not doing these things today. But this, I think, is a huge potential opportunity for their team. And I have no doubt will help them break through whatever plateaus they're seeing. I call these recipes, and this is a very high impact way of segmenting. So that's something for them to keep in mind. As we continue on, the next step of 3 is to set up my workspace, which I did. And then I get inside of the tool. And to use Navattic, they need me to install a Chrome extension. This is a big part of the process. And I have advised enough companies that have had Chrome extensions to know this is a big drop-off point. Because this takes you out of the Navattic tool. It takes you to another app store, Chrome store, basically, web app store. And it's got its own conversion rates. And sometimes people have trouble installing, or they don't make it back, or they don't feel like installing, or they've got to see, can I install? Do I need to get approval? If that is the case, if Navattic is seeing that, or you're seeing that with your product, the best thing that you can do here is to try to mitigate, or to try to increase the momentum and mitigate the friction. So not a ton of friction here. This is a click to install. So what we really need to focus on is increasing the motivation. What I would potentially do is to use the outcome as the main thing to motivate you. So for example, soon you'll be able to capture product screenshots that you can use in your marketing or in your sales or in your customer success flows or whatever it is, right? But leveraging that information that we just collected and potentially sharing some examples like these. So install this. Soon you'll be able to create interactive demos to improve your marketing, like Mixpanel, like Ramp, like Drift. Like these are just examples that I know are on the Navattic key studies page. So I would potentially use that as a carrot to increase the friction or increase the motivation, decrease the friction here. You could do an animating GIF showing how easy it is, maybe a few customer quotes or testimonials to try to get people to power through this step. The other thing that they could do is to optimize this web app store page. So I worked at PostScript for many years, which you can install directly from postscript.io, but you can also install it through the Shopify App Store. And we spent substantial time optimizing the App Store page, which was extremely high leverage. So that would be something that the Navattic team could think about. Obviously, the most valuable real estate is what you see above the fold here. I would just experiment with like what could be the most impactful thing to be showing folks here, and then potentially seeing if we could beef up the reviews. So reviews and ratings are a huge indicator and a huge social proof lever for other folks who are kind of on the fence. And what we want to do, we've got 2 ratings. It makes sense. This is a brand new free plan. What we want to try to do is get that number as high as possible. I might even set goals for my customer success team to see if they could reach out to folks who are actively engaged and set goals for them to get the review number up to 10, to 50, to 100, to whatever it is, to try to increase the signal to the next downloaders that this is a great thing to do and that they shouldn't feel any hesitation about it whatsoever because everybody else is doing it. That's the feedback. That's the vibe I want to create. And the way I want to get there is with reviews and by potentially experimenting with the hero image here and maybe some of the copy that they have down below. Whoops. Okay. So the next thing that I see is a prompt to invite my team, which makes a ton of sense. This is a B2B tool. They want me to go multiplayer mode. As a company installing Navattic, I get more value if I have more people in there. And on the flip side, Navattic should see a lot more retention with folks who invite their team. So it makes sense that they're doing this early in the journey. I work at a company of one, so I skipped it. And then I'm here. So I got to this area of the tool and I kind of had this now what type of moment. And I'm not picking on Navattic. I have this type of moment with many tools that I use. And so I want to encourage them to take a step back and think about what we want our users to do. In this case, it's pretty clear. We want them to make a demo. We want them to edit it and to customize it. We want them to publish it and then ideally get someone else to view it, right? Those are the steps that we want people to take when they sign up for this tool for the first time. Now, what's interesting is after I went through this whole experience, eventually I saw they had this setup guide here, but when I actually went through this flow for the first time as a new user, I missed it. So they've actually done the hard work. They've created this, it's really a checklist. I can start it, I can minimize it, I can bring it back whenever I want, which is great because if I want to explore my own and then I get stuck, I know I can reference it. Or if I just want some guidance to begin with, it's right there. So what I would potentially do is load that in an expanded state if they're seeing people who are getting stuck on this page, who are making it to this page and not doing anything else. So that would be something that they could do is to leverage, again, this checklist. They've already done the hard work. They've made it. I would just give it a little bit more prominence visually, either by expanding it or maybe even loading it right in the middle of the page, letting me know exactly what to do. So either way, the first step is for me to create a new demo. Now, my thinking is that we want to minimize the number of steps and shorten that time to value for any person signing up for Navattic for the first time. My prompt to them would be, instead of forcing me to go to this page and then click new demo, just show me whatever the new demo button would have done anyways, so that I don't have to click it, right? We want to save the clicks, save all the friction, and keep our momentum engaged in getting to that value quickly. So more specifically, they should just start with this page preloaded. So create your first product demo, help us do that. So I went ahead and I did this. So I entered in a URL. I don't have a product. So the closest thing I personally have to a product is my Trello board, which is where I manage basically the workflows for my whole business, but specifically for my podcast. And I figured I could create a cool overview that I could share with my assistant, and we could talk about how to leverage our Trello more effectively to manage my podcast. So I did that. Here's what it looks like. Here's what my podcast Trello page looks like. You can see the next couple of guests I've got scheduled and everything in here. But so regardless of what you see on this screen, the main experience as a new user of Navattic is I want to do my screen capture. So I did that. I clicked capture. It got this page. I got this nice little green check mark down below, which let me know the capture was done successfully. I clicked into a specific card and I captured that as well because I thought it'd be cool to do a little bit of deep diving and have a few steps in my flow. Excuse me. And then I clicked finish. So now Navattic let me know your capture collection has been done successfully. I clicked continue, and then I was brought to this page. So now I've figured out that Navattic wants me to create some copy that's going to sit in a modal that is going to go somewhere on top of my capture. And I couldn't help but feel like I needed a little, or I wanted a little bit more guidance here. And I think specifically because Navattic is in an emerging category, right? Interactive demos are a relatively new thing. Most people who are signing up for their free plan are probably not used to creating this, right? This isn't a tool that I've used before, just in other companies. This is a new category. And so I think that they have an opportunity to shape my behavior a little bit more. Or, well, first, orient me to what this page is and what it's going to look like and where I should direct my attention, because there's kind of a lot of stuff going on. But the second is also let me know what good looks like. What makes good modal text? How many steps should there be? If my goal is to use it for marketing or for customer success, what best practices should I keep in mind? What examples could I potentially model off of for what looks good? What are elements? These are all things that I found myself thinking about when I was on this page. And in fairness, Navattic has got this little hotkey up here on the top right-hand side that eventually I clicked because I was curious, and it opened up some of this stuff. So it gave me some suggestions, and it did start to shape my behavior. And again, I feel like they would have more value delivered to their users and potentially captured with their retention if they had this expanded automatically, or had these maybe as a welcome message when I get here to guide and shape my behavior. So a couple of suggestions there. And I powered through anyways. You can see I typed in some text here as I was playing around, and then I clicked preview, and I could see what it looked like, and it looked pretty cool, and it worked pretty well. And so I was excited about that. And when I was done previewing my demo experience, they dropped me on this page. So I titled this Trello podcast walkthrough, but originally this was untitled. And then there was this flow thing down here that was untitled. And I kind of found myself being a little confused between the relationship between captures and flows and the demo and sort of all these different things and how they played together. And again, I think this is more common because this is a new category. And this is a new type of tool that people are using. This is new language that I'm not already anchored to something existing, pre-existing. And so I think a little bit more guidance here would be helpful. Maybe a tour or a pop-up or some kind of modal experience to just explain the relationship with these. And then the other thing that I might think about is if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, do we have this problem? Are people confused about our experience? My real feedback would be for Navattic and for you listening to this to do some user testing, to show people the important parts of your onboarding experience and to ask them, hey, what do you think you're supposed to do here? What might stop you from doing that thing? Even if you did that thing, what might derail you along the way? And just see what they say. Ask them to answer it verbally. I'm kind of doing that here, right? The things that might prevent me from moving forward are like a little bit of confusion between the relationship. Do I title this? Do I title this something different? Am I sharing the flow? Am I sharing the capture? Am I sharing the demo? How does all that stuff work together? Those are all things to try to surface from your users. And the best way to do it is qualitatively. And then the solutions become usually somewhat obvious. So I'm giving some proactive suggestions because of my experience. But if you're listening to this, get some qualitative feedback, do some user testing. That helps you break through these plateaus and identify your flat sides. The other potential opportunity that I see for Navattic is to optimize this sharing modal. Now, I've done the hard part. I've captured my screens. I've customized my walkthrough experience, and I've previewed it myself. I'm good with what it looks like. Now, I need to be sharing it with somebody else. And so I have no data on this, but if I was Navattic's team, I would get a lot of data on people who expand this share modal. So it's like if you click share or publish up here on the top right-hand side, I forget which one, it looks like this. I would spend a lot of time looking at people who expand this share, but don't actually share it, who don't get views on their demo, and to see if we can figure out why. And I would spend some time optimizing this modal because I think it's super high leverage for them. And if you're listening to this, if you have kind of that last milestone before somebody gets to value, that's usually a point where there's like heavy drop off because this is heavy friction, right? To embed it somewhere, to put it in an email, to share it, to grab a link. And that's why this is a high leverage place for you to invest some time and to see what you can do to help break through the current plateaus. So that would be my suggestion to them, to continue the momentum that they've built, at least with me, up until this point. And I kind of mentioned this before. So I went all the way through this, their whole experience. This is, I'm just expanding this setup guide up here on the top left. I went through the whole experience before I realized that this setup guide was here. So again, they've done the hard work. Show it to me, show it to all new users so that we don't have to, guess. Also, it looks, maybe there's a bug here because I obviously created the demo, but we want people to see this. I think more people that see this, usually more people that will complete these steps. Now, the last part of the experience is the other communication channels that we have, email in this case. So I got 2 emails from Navattic, which actually is great. In the other episodes of the series that I've done, I've only gotten 1. And so they're doing behavioral email, which I love. So this is the welcome that I got. Hey, welcome. You've joined a bunch of other folks like you. There's a ton of people who are building demos with us. Here's how you get going with Navattic in 4 steps. I love this. It's the same 4 steps that we just looked at inside of the product in the setup guide. We're reinforcing that here. We got a link into the workspace. So great welcome email. I love this approach. And then this one I also really loved, which is congrats on publishing your first product demo. So they're doing behavioral emails, which is emailing me based on the things that I have done or not done inside of my product. And again, this is where I would think a lot about how do we get a user to create their second demo. So we've published this is after I published it. So we've published our first demo. Now do another one, right? We want to turn users into habitual users. And the way to do that is we get them to create habits and to do it again and again and again. And so what I would do is I would potentially share some like advanced tips, advanced tricks, some examples or case studies or cool use cases that I haven't thought of. And they could match this or marry this to the onboarding job to be done. If I'm a marketer, show me marketing examples. If I'm a sales rep, show me amazing sales examples. But leverage the data that you have in addition to the product data. Leverage the firmographic or demographic or behavioral data that you've got to break through your current plateaus. So that's what we have for the Navattic experience. There's a lot to like here. They've done a lot of great things well, especially for a company creating their onboarding flow for the very first time. We talked about 4 high leverage things for them to focus on. The first, some recipes, segmentation, ways that they can leverage information they know about their users to deliver a more valuable experience to them and to break through their plateaus. The second idea was shortening their time to value, seeing if we can remove a few steps to get them to creating and capturing that first demo quicker. The third, we talked about some guidance with targeted tours or pop-ups or modals. Since this is a new category and a new product in the category, I think a little bit more guidance is going to be helpful because folks are going to be doing this for the first time. And the fourth opportunity that we talked about is to optimize the sharing modal, to spend some time figuring out how do we get more folks who look at that sharing modal to actually share their demo with somebody who's not them. That's going to increase the value that users get. It's going to increase the value and the retention that Navattic gets, and it should help them win. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Keep watching. We'll make more.